Well, it's just a nice winter day out here. It's light snow falling and it's about 15 degrees, and I'm thinking about bear hunting. And in this video, I'm going to help you understand some things that you might be doing wrong. A lot of people do wrong, and I did wrong when I first started bear hunting. If you're struggling to keep bears from leaving your bait, if you're struggling to get them in the daylight, several other problems that are associated with trying to get a mature bear on your bait during the hunting season, during daylight, so you can shoot it, then this video is for you. I'm going to bring you 5 important things in this video that you might be doing wrong, because a lot of people do them wrong, and they're things that I did wrong when I first started. So even though it's Christmas time, the bears aren't going to be out of their dens for about 3 more months. I'm already thinking about next year and getting bears on the baits and all that. And so these 5 things are not in any particular order. They're all 5 really important things. And the first one is the quality of bait that you use. A lot of people are just using the things that they can get easily and that don't cost very much or whatever. They can pop popcorn, they're maybe using table scraps, or there's, you know, just a lot of cheap candies that they can get, or licorice and all these things. And all of those things are maybe good to mix in with good quality bait, like a trail mix and pastries and nuts and those types of things that keep the bears at the bait and fulfill their nutritional needs. That's really important. We're not just trying to give these bears some sweets so they like us. We want them to keep coming back to the bait. We want our bait to be their primary food source, and there's plenty of competition out there for what they want to eat, and in the form of natural foods and also in the form of other baiters. So use high quality baits. I can't stress enough how important that is. And the second thing is, don't let your bears run out of bait. This is a really common problem, and there's some situations where you just can't avoid it because you can't get there often enough. But you just want to minimize this as much as possible, because, as I said a moment ago, these bears have other food sources. And if they come to your bait once or twice and they don't get something good to eat, they're just going to go somewhere else. They got other places to eat. They got other baits available. They know where they are. There's always natural foods available to them. So in these competitive areas like Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota and you know, other places that I've hunted in the West, like Wyoming and Idaho and so forth, it's so critical to just never let them run out of bait. I want them rewarded every time they come back, and that includes if they're just nocturnal. Make sure they get something good to eat, because they'll fill up and they'll stay nearby, and even a lot of those nocturnal bears will eventually become bears that you can kill because they'll come in during the daylight. The third mistake that a lot of people make, I think, and they don't often realize it, is that they spook the bears off the bait. A lot of people have day jobs and they end up going out in the evening to run their baits, and man, if that's all you got, then I guess that's all you got. But the problem is, in these competitive areas, if you spook a mature bear off the bait, he's probably not coming back in the daylight, at least for a week or 2, and maybe longer, maybe not for the rest of that season. So try to run your baits, if you can, during the times that the bears are least likely to be there, which is typically midday. Try to run your baits between 10 and 2 if you can. This is important. The things that you do to try to avoid spooking these bears off the baits it just can't be overstated how important that is. This fourth one is something a lot of people don't think about, and you know, you've always heard that you have to be quiet and you have to be still on the stand, but I think a lot of people don't take that seriously enough. The bears have great eyesight, number one, and particularly they're exceptional at picking up any kind of movement. Bears tend to case the joint, I like to call it, before they come in. They don't necessarily circle all around the bait. I've got a video on this channel about how mature bears actually typically approach a bait site, and they do try to get downwind of the bait. That's a video that you should watch, and always keep in mind that when you're sitting on a stand, there's very good possibility that a bear is nearby, especially in that last hour to half hour of daylight. That's when the bigger bears will come. They'll stage nearby. They'll maybe find a place where they can look the bait over and smell it and so forth. And any little movement at that time, if you're reading a book or playing something on your phone or texting, that can be a recipe for disaster. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they take out their phone to check the time in those last few minutes of daylight, which lights up their face. And you have to realize that a bear's eyes can take in about 50 times as much light as yours can. So when you pick up your phone and put it up like this, you know, when it's just starting to get dark, it's like lighting up your face like a beacon, and those bears can see that from quite a distance away. Think about 50 times as much light as they can see. You know, if you're in a tree stand and you do that, it's going to light up everything behind you and around you. If you're in a ground blind, it's going to light up the whole inside of the ground blind. That can be a big mistake. And number 5 also has to do with when you're hunting and when you're in the tree stand, and it's a mistake that a lot of people make, and I see it all the time. In fact, I had to change my policy as a guide to tell all the hunters that we will come to the base of your tree and get you out of the tree. Don't get out of the tree until we show up, because it's always better. If you're going to bump a bear, it's always better to spook him from the ground than it is from climbing down out of a tree stand, because from that point on, he's going to look up in that tree and see if you're there before he comes and commits to the bait. The people who climb down with just that little bit of light left, and it surprised me over the years how many people get really nervous when it gets dark and they know there's bears around them, and they'll tend to get out of the stand with 10 minutes or so of daylight left, which is the worst possible time to get out of the stand. You'll spook those bigger bears that are right nearby. So try to avoid getting out of the stand. And if you've got a buddy that can come and get you from the stand or pick you up in some way, that's much better than climbing down. And sometimes, I know this is really hard to avoid at times if you're hunting by yourself and so forth. Just try to minimize it if you can. So I'd be happy to hear your comments on this. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and thank you for watching this. I hope it's helpful to you. We'll see you on the next video.